Welcome to Velocro. I'm Bob. 10 birds. Thanks for indulging me. Thanks for viewing. Thanks for subscribing. And don't forget, I'll be on vacation August 15th through September 10th. Today's discussion is on ways to make ourselves faster without working harder. Now, what does that mean? The first thing we're going to talk about is proper fueling. We know that we need up to 80 milligrams of carbohydrates an hour. Now, oat cookies, protein bars, there's all sorts of bars that you can take, and you can fuel along the ride. A lot of people skip either breakfast or they don't take something before the ride, so the first hour goes really well and then they just peter off. Number 2, clothing. I wear snug garments, bibs, and jerseys. Now, I don't wear very fancy, expensive ones, but they fit well for the most part. Some of the older ones are actually a little loose. I'm kind of happy about that. And I don't ride with my zipper down. And I don't ride with my zipper down all the way and letting my jackets flop in the wind, because that's a lot of air drag and that's expensive. Number 3, pacing. Now, a lot of people, when they start out, they find a hill and they want to get up on the hill and they start to slow down. Best thing, in my mind, is if you know the hill in particular, start with an easy pace that will get you going and keep you at a constant rate where you can accelerate if you want to up the grade. And then when you reach the summit, you can continue, pedal into the descent, and then you have a great edge into your speed, because now you're already going. Whereas if you start out hard and then slow down, if you get to the summit, you stop pedaling, let inertia carry you. It costs speed. And it doesn't cost that much more to pace yourself. Number 4, and this is another one. Sometimes we forget to drink. Even when we're not feeling thirsty, we need to because our muscles demand it. Okay, so that's a big one. Water, and plenty of it before and during the ride. Number 5, for increasing our speeds, is using our brakes. Now, when we're in a descent, I try to air brake to slow myself down to save wear and tear and keep, costs money. Pads cost money. If you can save them a little, that's fine. But when you can get going down a hill, I take full advantage, and I discuss that in my Praying Mantis, and I take advantage of every hill that I can take advantage of, barring traffic concerns and that sort of thing. So I do exploit the descents to gain that little speed. But if you come off the crest of the hill slow, you'll go into your descent slowly. Number 6, and this is something that's kind of overlooked, routes. I talked about that in the other show where we talked about interval training. And sometimes I really don't feel like going for a ride, so I go on an easy route. And maybe I get aerobic, maybe I don't, but I usually do. And I switch to these routes to give me a fresh perspective on my riding, and so that it makes you feel better. When you're out on the same ride regularly, you do the same thing and it gets boring, and your muscles don't work correctly too, because you're already conditioned to the ride. Breaking it up can help break those bad habits that we may be developing. Number 7, chain and tires. Now you can see I have the bike set up ready for chain cleaning and tire inspection. Very important between rides. All of our force and horsepower goes through the chain, and it's best to keep it as lubricated as possible. So we're going to give this a good go over shortly. And then number 8, when we've talked about this before, pit stops. I talked about that in staging rides. Now, I avoid breaks unnecessarily. Unfortunately, I get caught up in red lights and that kind of thing, and that really stings because you start to cool down, and you got your heart rate and everything just where you want it, and then all of a sudden you have to stop involuntarily. But I try to avoid breaks. I also try to avoid eating snacks from restaurants and coffee and beverages, because that not only consumes time, which is speed, which means I can get back home that much sooner, but it slows me down in other ways because now I'm doing digestion and all that other stuff. So if by eating a controlled diet when I'm riding and not eating sugary stuff and donuts and things like that, that's very beneficial. And I avoid sugary beverages altogether. So at any rate, I find it's better to plan my breaks, and usually I make a video. I can get to my destination. You've seen a couple videos made in the field, and then that'll be my break time. Then I can start my ride and go maybe to some other places. But that is the way I do it, because I find that if you stop often, when you start again, you're more tired. And if you do stop more often, it just seems to me you finish the ride more exhausted. Anyway, that's all I've got on that. I hope that's useful. Thanks a lot for sharing and subscribing.